Hello, assalamu alaikum everybody. Hope you're all safe, sound, and healthy. And I was just having a conversation with an expert in his field, and I was, asking for his advice and everything, because he is known to give very good advice in great detail and with great depth because it is his field. And when we were talking about different things and all, with relations to the field in general and everything and customer service and everything, it was just coming to my mind that actually in our country one of the worst parts, I mean, I know I've actually talked about this years ago in my podcast. Is there any subject I haven't talked about in my podcast? Come to think of it, I think I should be running out of new things to say. It's been 5 years as it is, but anyway, as I said, it's something that I have off and on touched upon. The fact that the worst part of our country and its people is that, as I said, it all begins at home, right? Your parents who always snub you instead of enabling you to speak up or speak out when things go wrong, right? When I talked about the political losses that we've faced, the social losses that we've faced. And I've constantly pointed out the fact that it is mainly because we were never allowed to speak up and speak out for generations. And that our parents' generation was, as I said, by far the worst on a global level. But in Desi level, when you're talking about, hold on a second, when you're talking about, sorry, there's a tiny microscopic sort of an ant that distracted me. And now I've forgotten what it was I was trying to say. I was talking basically about our parents' generation, right? Yeah, that when you're talking on a global level, it is the worst, most corrupt, the most chaotic generation ever. But also, when you come on a subcontinental level, especially when you speak about Pakistan, actually, I can't even talk about Bangladesh or India anymore because I'm not sure. But I think, yeah, generally, if you're talking about our parents' generation, yeah, all three countries can agree to this. That they have had the worst habit of never letting us confidently speak up or speak out when things go wrong. They are always snubbing us, till date, basically. They have the coward's approach. It's hard to believe that this is the same generation that was active in political, anti-dictatorship or, nationalist movements and this and that, because these are the same people who, as that's why I call them hypocrites, these are the same people who turn around, who turn around and stop us from literally even calling somebody out for being wrong. And because of that, our generation has suffered the most. When it comes to harassment, millennials have suffered the most when it comes to harassment, when it comes to not being able to speak up when things are going wrong, not being able to call somebody out for being wrong, not being able to, cut off people you need to cut off. Basically, our confidence has been stripped off of us right from the start. And this is why we're also very uncomfortable with those people who do speak up and do speak out. Now, a person like me, believe it or not, I was one of the quietest persons in the room. Like, I was basically the invisible person ever. Always, always. When I decided to start actually speaking up, I mean, it's not that I never spoke up or spoke out. No, no, no. I actually did. This is something that even my teachers, when I was in primary, my teachers who taught me when I was in kindergarten level, they would come up to me and say, oh, yeah, we still remember how you used to stand up to us and how you used to stand up when you felt that somebody was doing something wrong or saying something wrong, and how you were an eye for an eye kind of a person. So, yeah, I am an eye for an eye kind of a person. And yet, despite all that, I have had the highest level of endurance. So yeah, imagine having two things within one person, that I am an eye for an eye kind of a person. To me, justice is everything. But throughout my life, I have ignored people, I have endured people, and I have been very, very patient with people. And so this is why, again, I was also very well known amongst my colleagues and friends for somebody in front of whom you could say and do anything and that it wouldn't affect me. But as I said, that doesn't mean you should say and do anything in front of me. You should know your boundaries yourself, Just because I don't mind things because I've got an evolved mind, it doesn't mean that I, should always, just ignore whatever shenanigans you people are always up to. So, keeping all of that in mind, again, because I've noticed that the fact that actually when I did start speaking out, it started making people very uncomfortable. And the times when I spoke out was basically when I'm calling somebody out for repeating the same mistake, so-called mistake, over and over again. Because this is even in Islam, that when it's done once, it can be a mistake. When it's done twice, even it can be a mistake. But when it's done thrice, it's no longer a mistake. It's deliberate. So if you're repeatedly doing something, and psychologically speaking, repeatedly doing the same thing over and over again and hoping for a different result is the very definition of insanity. And that is what people around me always seem to be doing. So I keep on and on, have to repeat myself, and I have to keep on calling them out over the same thing over and over again. The fact is that I actually get fed up calling them out, but they don't seem to ever tire of doing the same thing over and over again. So who does that make, who does it make worse, basically? Because this is the kind of society now that we've built in, where people cannot speak up or speak out. They rather say, oh, forget it. Oh, just forget it. It's not like anything's going to change. Oh, just forget it. And that is why, again, our country is where it is today. And again, it is my generation. It's our generation. It's the millennials and Gen Z. These are the two generations right now that are actually fighting. They are fighting. They're going against the norm. They're the thorns in the animal's paw. We're the thorns in the animal's paw. That is your illegal government and army chief, Yeah, we're the thorns in their paws. Because we are speaking up and we're speaking out, and we're not backing down, we're not backing off. But again, as I said, because we do not have any third party alliances or interests aligned with us, we are going against third party interests, which is the American interest, the British interest, the Indian interest. We are going against Western interests by attacking our own government and our own army, because they are the ones who planted them there. So this is why we don't seem to ever gain the momentum. And this is why, again, as I said, if we ever achieve success, it would be 100% to our own credit. And that's a good thing, because we will know then that we owe nobody anything. We don't owe anybody anything for our achievements. And then we will be a truly sovereign, independent state that can be free to choose relationships and friendships with whichever countries we want to, free trade and all, which right now we are unable to do, because our governments and our bureaucracy and, they are constantly involved with other countries' interests, and they are here because they were put here by other countries, other entities. They never got to where they are of their own achievements, that is why. So keeping that in mind, again, I would say the fact that in our country people became very uncomfortable. There were many people, as we know, and as you can see, the media outlets who mouthed off those people when they were very uncomfortable with the fact that Imran Khan why was he making so much noise? Why was he, rallying people around? Why is he acting like that? And now they're after us. Why are we being so rebellious? Why are we being like this? Why are we being like that? It's basically, it's like how companies whose services you take, and they don't provide you the right kind of services, but you've paid an international amount of fee to them, and you're not even getting a national worth of services, and they keep on repeating the same mistakes over and over again, and you call them out again and again, and then they have this problem as to, oh my God, why is this person, how can we just stay away from this person? How you can stay away from this person? Do your job. Stop repeating the same mistakes over and over again. Stop making things worse for your customers, Stop giving them, glitches in their system, for example. Stop forcing them to go to you for repairs, for example. Stop mucking their stuff up, Stop giving them defective items. Stop giving them faulty items. Take responsibility for your promises, for your oaths, for your business contracts. So, as I said, it's because the reason why Pakistan and its people have reached to this level of corruption is because there was nobody to stop them. There was nobody to call them out. Because it's the very simple fact that if a boy, for example, goes around he just passes by you and he harasses you, your first instinct would be to pull him and smack him. And yet you don't. Why? Because the first person to stop you will be your mother, a woman herself, but she will be the first person to stop you and say, oh, don't do anything, don't say anything, just pretend it never happened. What if he turns back and smack you? So let him try. In fact, I bet you that the guys who get smacked by girls, they actually never even dare to go near a girl again ever. Because the reason why guys go around harassing girls is because they were never smacked by anyone. And this approach that some parents come with, where they try to just chat the person into asking for forgiveness. This is also, in my opinion, a very hypocritical approach. This is not something that you should chat somebody into apologizing for. In Islam, harassment is a huge issue. This is the kind of issue where the Prophet did not even sometimes ask for witness. In fact, most of the times, he didn't even ask for witnesses. As long as the girl said that I've been harassed and she points to the person, that person is effed. He's effed. There is no further questions asked to the girl. There is no lawyers coming and negotiating and trying to discredit the witnesses or discredit the girl, the victim. No, the person is straight up punished. As long as anybody even does a hearsay collaboration, he will be accepted as a witness, by the way. That is what they mean by witnesses in such cases in Islamic law. It's not just because nobody is going to commit the act in front of another person. Like, are you a fool? Unless, of course, you've got these stark, staring, weird a-holes who, like to actually keep evidence of their acts and witnesses. But generally, normally, a sane person would not want witnesses around when he does whatever it is that he does in harassment and molestation cases, right? In that case, it is it's a he says, she says sort of a thing. And guess what? In Islamic law, the he says, she says, yeah, it becomes valid. So if a witness comes forward and says that, yeah, she said that this person did this to her, that person will be regarded as a valid witness, and based upon his hearsay, which will be accepted as evidence, as witness, the person will be punished. Yes. So, keeping again all of that, as I said, Islam made it very, very, very clear, very black and white. I don't care what the judges nowadays try to, say, oh, no, in Islam, actually, we have the right to choose a punishment. I don't give a frack about that. The point is that you want to follow Islam, follow it properly, follow the Prophet. Don't follow the Prophet where it suits you and then bring your different fatwas when it doesn't suit you. That is the kind of an eye for an eye kind of a person I am. I believe if you have believed in Islam, believe in every aspect of it, whether you agree with it or not. Okay, Islam is a very practical, very commonsensical religion, and I find it really wild how men have taken a page out of the Christianity book and the Jewish book, where they think that they can paint everything black and white when it comes to laws for women, but then they suddenly have their grays and their blues and their yellows and their reds when it's laws pertaining to men, which is absolutely wrong, because the same kind of black and white should be used for both. Because when the Quran addresses the people, it addresses both. Unless it specifically says, okay, you men, pay heed, women, pay heed. Otherwise, every single thing is addressed to both equally. So there is that. Keeping, again, all of that in mind, in Islam, again, a person should not endure tyranny. A person should not endure oppression. A person should not endure violence, domestic abuse. A person should not endure humiliation and disrespect. In other words, a person has the right to speak up, speak out, and resist. You understand? When you're calling somebody out for something that they have done wrong, is a duty as a human being that you have. And as a Muslim, it's your responsibility. This is one of the things God is going to ask you about, that, okay, did you at least speak out? Fine, you couldn't do anything. Did you speak out? So yes, it is our duty to speak out. I would say before I was never so vocal because I wrote. I wrote them in my books. I wrote them in my blogs. I wrote them out. I wrote them in such a way where it is for those who need to understand. I put them in fiction works. I put them in articles. I put them in any different places that I could. But I was still a quiet person. Again, that didn't mean I wouldn't stand up. I always stood up. To me, it was just unthinkable right from the start as a person. Again, if you're telling me that character building teaches you this and Quran teaches you this and you're supposed to be this kind of a person and you're supposed to have these kind of principles in life, and then you have a problem with me following those rules because now you suddenly want that, oh, these are just in the books, but in real life, no. Then why are you teaching your kids these books? Don't teach them. Don't teach them what the Quran says. Don't teach them what the Hadith says. Don't teach them what the books say. Don't teach them what law says, for example. Don't teach them what the rules are. Don't teach them what is good and what is bad. Because if you don't want your children to grow up following those principles, why the heck are you teaching them that? Again, hypocrisy. You're teaching your children in school that they need to be good people, that they need to stand up for what's wrong. They need to speak out. They need to speak up. They need to talk about things, about issues that need to be talked about. They need to call those people out, who need to be called out. They need to call a spade, right? They need to have principles. They need to talk about justice and fairness and equality, that they need to have themselves, they need to be just and fair and equal, and that they need to respect others, and then they need to have mutual respect, and then you're giving all these rules and all of how to be a good human being and what principles you need to follow, and about honesty, and about not to lie, not to scam others, not to deceive others, okay? And then when people are trying to stay or stand by the rules, the first people, again, who knock them down, their parents. The first people to stop you from following those principles are your parents. The first people to break their promises and to force you to break your promises, parents. And then this becomes the norm of the society. And then you sit and wonder why your country's gone to the dogs. And then you wonder, why is it that people have a problem? People have always, and the fun part, people who have had a problem with the making of Pakistan, those are the same people right now who are living in Pakistan and benefiting the most from Pakistan. The same people who had a problem with Quaid-e-Azam and all the founders of Pakistan who worked so hard to get this state, they had a problem with the Indians also, when the Indians and as in the Hindus, when the Hindus and the Sikhs and the Muslims got together and went on mutiny or on revolts against the British. There were many people who had a problem with that, saying, oh, why are they causing so much unrest? Oh, why can't, nothing's going to change? Oh, why are they always making such a mess? Why can't they just let us live in peace? Why is there always anarchy everywhere? And now those people are the ones who are benefiting the most from their independence. Whereas those who did all the hard work are all gone. They're all gone. None of them could actually live properly to see the day. All of them are gone. And similarly, those are the, I think it's their descendants now. It's those people's descendants who now have a problem with Imran Khan or with the other people of Pakistan who are constantly protesting, who are constantly going out in the streets and calling a spade, who are constantly revolting, who are constantly, and it's all peaceful. It's all peaceful, but the people have a problem. And not all the people, no, I'm talking about that weird-ass minority, the Patwari class that is there, and not even just the Patwari class, but the non-Patwari class, even there, as in, there are also those Again, that is why. And then but secretly they're all sitting there waiting for dinner to be served, you know. And then you're saying that no, we shouldn't say that Pakistanis are shameless and we shouldn't say they're cowards because look at Balochistan, look at Punjab. But no, we're not looking at Balochistan. We have never called the people of the north cowards and shameless. We know that, in fact, we have said it I've said it. I personally have said this many times, that if this time Pakistan, now whatever happens in Pakistan, the actual revolution will be started by the people from the north. And it's true, as you can see. You have Gilgit Baltistan, you have Kashmir, you have KPK, you have Balochistan. They are the ones who are completely active. They're the ones who have not lost their momentum once. They keep on coming back and back and back and back. And the ones who have suffered the most are the people of Punjab. So yes, okay, you cannot call the people of Punjab shameless because you're thinking, oh, the people of Punjab are the ones who suffered the most. But heck, tell me one thing. Why is it that the people of Punjab have suffered the most? Because they didn't push back. They're not pushing back. They're enduring. How do we push back? Peaceful protests. Actually, I have a problem here even with the people of KPK and all. I thought the KPK people were warriors. I thought the Balochistan people were warriors. Well, the Balochistan people are actually fighting back. But I mean, what happened to KPK? I thought that they were the ones, they were the Kalashnikov, the Kalashnikov culture. So what happened to the Kalashnikovs now? Now, why didn't they start fighting against the police officers, since you know that the police are no longer ours? Well, they never were. But I mean, especially the Punjab police, they never were ours. We always knew that they were literally hired mercenaries of the Sharif family to be used in any way as personal guards, but paid from our own pockets, you know. So, again, we are not speaking out. That is why we refer to ourselves as shameless when we say that we are shameless and we're cowards, is because we're not literally speaking out the way we should. Okay? We speak out and then somebody comes and creates a story for us, a narrative for us, and then we back down for a few days and the momentum's broken. Then we again get back and then again somebody makes up a story, spins a yarn, and then again we get... This is not how it's done. This is exactly what makes us say, oh, we're all shameless, because we know that they're spinning a yarn. We know that they're pushing us back. We know, and we're constantly going back again and again, you know, when actually we shouldn't back off. We shouldn't back down. Considering how Punjab suffered the most, Karachi, Sindh, you haven't seen jack shit. And this is a fact. You haven't seen what the people of Punjab have seen and still are seeing. You know, not on that scale, not on that level. I'm sorry. You cannot, you just cannot. Your comparisons are now way off. You just cannot compare to the havoc that has been wreaked in Punjab. And now add the floods to it. As in recently again, they've again broken, a barrage on the wrong side, which to them it was it's practically even the wrong side, but they decided to break that side of the barrage or the bund, actually, not even the barrage, sorry. They decided to break that side of the bund where the poor farmers' lands would be flooded up to 12 inches. Up to 12 inches of water now there. Why? To save a few rich farmers, a few feudal lords, their lands. This is what your army is doing. This is what your PDMA is doing. This is what your government is doing. You are deliberately flooding the poor people, when actually if you had taken it through the rich people's land, you would have actually avoided floods. Yes, you would have avoided a mass scale flood. But no, you decide to have a mass scale flood just to save one or two farmhouses, one or two farmlands that belong to the rich. Better to drown hundreds and hundreds of hectares of lands of 15, 20, 50 different farms, 50 different farmers and their homes. Yeah, but save those two homes because they have an affiliation with a politician or somebody in the army or in the police. And again, why? Nobody is speaking up. Nobody is speaking out. And now when people are speaking up and speaking out, they're being censored. So here's another thing. Your media is censoring the people. This is the tradition that we have, where companies don't want their clients to speak up against them. And by the way, this tradition is fast spreading even in America. Today, you will find a lot of people who have been harassed by companies, even in America, because they have put up an honest negative review about them. Again, if you do not want people to speak ill of your companies, do not shit on your clients. Give them what you've promised. Give them that quality, give them that service. Why are you shitting on your clients? You're taking the money, isn't it? It's not like they're doing it for free. It's not like they're taking stuff for free. In fact, you're overcharging them. Most of the time when it's in these cases, the companies are actually overcharging their clients. And then they have a problem when the clients speak up. Again, who speaks up? The person who has awareness. The reason why, again, in Pakistan, where we have a problem with people who don't speak up is, again, because a large majority of our people are not educated. I think it's basically 60% of our population is actually is actually educated. So we have 60% or so education in Pakistan. And if you look at the other countries, they've got higher percentages. Well, Indonesia, I think, has 97 or 99%. Bangladesh even has a higher literacy percentage than ours. So when you sit and compare, and if you look at Hong Kong and others, again, literacy percent, education percent, which means, although, okay, education on paper doesn't necessarily mean awareness. And so you could argue that Imran Khan actually did a huge service by creating awareness amongst our people so that even the uneducated people started talking. The fact that Imran Khan started a dialogue, people were never interested in politics or politicians. They couldn't be, they literally couldn't be bothered by them. Nobody could be bothered by the politics and the politicians and by politics, to be honest, in our country for the longest period of time, because our, again, take was, it doesn't matter because things don't change. But Imran Khan, basically, he worked hard for 22 years to tell us that, look, it is slow, it is tedious, it is painful, but change can come. But you have to start from within. Now, here's the problem again, that people started getting more and more aware. The dialogue that Imran Khan started, that dialogue began and it spread. People started having a dialogue about the politics, the situation, the narratives, what's actually going on, who's doing what. The awareness was spread, yes. But again, the people still didn't yet gather that courage. Who gathered the courage to come out, to spill out? The educated. And those uneducated who had the opportunity to be amongst the educated, and so to get that courage to come out. And that is what I mean by basically those in the urban cities or in small towns or in places like that, where they could see the importance of joining the crowd. Whereas, again, I would say, remember that a good 80% of our population are based in villages. And again, low literacy rate. And then again, despite the fact that they began the dialogue, but they still couldn't get themselves to come out. To them, living their lives was again a big excuse for them not to be carried away, not to be bothered to come. And my problem is basically with them, because again, who was Imran Khan fighting for? He wasn't fighting for us, I'll tell you that, okay? He was fighting for you. He was fighting for the poor. He was fighting for the disadvantaged. He was fighting for those people who were slowly, quietly being strangled by the ever-increasing disparity between the rich and the poor, by the corrupt financial situation that was forcing our country into a huge gap of wealth distribution, let us say. And that, my friends, is why, again, speaking up and speaking out is not liked in our society, because people have been so used to keeping quiet. And again, who did this? The honors? Our parents. don't say this to him, what if something happens? Don't say this to her, what if something happens? Like, are you serious? And you call yourselves Muslims? What is the first rule of Islam? Take responsibility, accountability. Stand with the weak, stand with the bullied, call the wrong person out, call him out, stop him, even if you have to use force. This is literally in Islam. Stop the aggressor, even if you have to use physical force. And what are we doing? We're telling the victims to keep quiet and consider it water under the bridge and let the perpetrator go. Let the aggressor go. It's better. It's just better. Oh, mitti pao, water under the bridge. Just forget it. Just forget it. Why? He's too poor. Forget it. He's too rich. Forget it. They're too old. Forget it. They're too young. Forget it. Like, seriously, if you're going to forget everybody, then why the hell am I here paying the brunt of it all? Seriously, why am I bearing the brunt of it all then? I also need that privilege. Why am I not getting it? This is not how it works. This is not how it should work. And this is why, again, our country has gone to the pits. And why more and more, and because of this government and this army and its attitude, it is getting so glaringly obvious how every single company, every single judge, every single lawyer, every single salesperson, every single management, every single employer, every single academic, every single institution, they all want to eschew responsibility and accountability. And they're all now running wild trying to stop everybody who wants to speak up in front of them or against them or about what's wrong. Institutions want to snub the students who are paying them. They're not studying for free. They're paying you. In fact, they're overpaying you. You're not even supposed to be paid the amount of money that the students' parents are paying you, and yet you want to shut them up. You're paying your politicians to represent you, but they're stealing from you, and they're representing a foreign entity, but they want you to shut up. Your army is committing treason, but it wants you to shut up. Your police is a hired mercenary, and it wants you to shut up. It doesn't want you to say a word against it. Why? The whole institution is corrupt. It's a fact. In fact, the only thing we can say is that in the whole corrupt institution, maybe 1% of police officers are not corrupt. It means the whole institution is corrupt because majority is authority. The same goes for the army. You cannot keep on saying that, no, it's just one person or two. The whole institution is corrupt, because if the whole institution actually stood by its rules, they wouldn't have even allowed the army chief to become army chief, because it is against their rules. It's against their law. It's against their protocols. It's against their institution. But as an institution, they have time and again showed us that they will continue to allow people within the institution to break the rules. It means, as an institution, they are corrupt. What you can say again is that maybe 1% from within the institution are not corrupt. Majority is authority. So similarly, if a vendor does not keep up his end of the contract, whether it's implied or it's written, or if it is to do with the quality or the services provided, which again comes under implied law, it comes under statutory law, in fact. So tell me, why shouldn't the client speak up? And again, if you're repeatedly doing the same thing over and over and over again, it means you have decided that you do not care for improvement, and yet you want your clients never to complain about the fact that you have still not improved on the one thing that they have been constantly complaining about. I have said this repeatedly, that when you are a service provider, when you are in the service industry, you can only exist because of your clients. If you don't have clients, you will cease to exist. So your clients are your investors, and they should be respected. The money that they're giving to you must be respected. But in Pakistan, people do not respect the people who are giving them money. In fact, they take money from people as if it's their right. It's not. It's the other person's hard-earned money, and it's his right whether to give it to you or not. So the way, again, the mentality that people have in Pakistan is a very dangerous mentality, and you can see it now in the way of your politicians and your law enforcement agencies running amok. And that is where everybody seems to think that they have the right onto others, but nobody seems to realize that they have duties onto others. They have responsibilities onto others, and that they are accountable to others. No, everybody's, busy coveting what belongs to others and thinking of it as their right. Relatives are coveting what belongs to relatives despite the fact that you have enough of your own. But no, you're eyeing that person, that person's house must come to me, that person's property must come to me. Why? You have your own house, you have your own property. By this law, your own house and your own property shouldn't go to your kids. It should then go to that person. It is beyond dangerous the way our people have been corrupted. And this is why we are shameless. This is why inherently when we say that we are bagharat, it is true. And when we inherently say we're cowards, it is also true. Because this is a sign of bagharti when corruption spreads to such levels that everybody is eyeing the other person's property, everybody is eyeing what another person has in his possession, everybody is always looking at what others have, ignoring what they themselves have. Everybody is too busy being envious, everybody is too busy, having the evil eye for others, everybody is too busy being dishonest, everybody is too busy looking for ways to take what belongs to others. Everybody seems to think it is their right, that they have rights on everybody. This is very dangerous, and this is bagharti, this is shamelessness at its lowest and its highest. And then those who stand up, they make people uncomfortable then. Those who stand up and call a spade, those who point these things out, those who constantly call you to be accountable, then suddenly they're the bad people. That's why Imran Khan was the bad guy. That's why our generation is the bad generation. That is why the generation after us is going to be even worse. Because we are speaking up and we're speaking out. We are telling you that you are wrong where you're wrong. We are calling you out when you are not fulfilling your end, of what is an implied law or statutory law. You're not fulfilling your end of whatever is required of you as a service industry, as somebody who's related to the service industry, for example, be it a retailer, be it a solar system installer, be it a manufacturer, be it a bank, be it the government, be it the army, be it the law enforcement, be it anybody, and it doesn't matter. But the fact that nobody is fulfilling their end of the protocols, you can say, their end of the deal, their end of principles, their end of the contract. This is shamelessness. And the fact that we have been snubbed for the longest period of time, this is cowardice. This is cowardice and it's hypocrisy. Because you are being snubbed from a very young age, from speaking out, from talking out, from calling somebody out for being wrong, for trying to take somebody else's side, for going out of your way to help somebody else. No. Why? The first people to stop you are your parents again. They're the ones who will grab you back and say, no, you don't need to do this for that person. No, you don't need to go out of your way for that person. No, why are you doing this for that person? But the same parents are going to say, why don't you do this for me? Okay, so why are you different? Just because you're parents, so you're different? Because that person isn't a relative, or isn't my parent, or isn't my sister or brother, so he doesn't deserve my help, but because you're my relatives, so it's your right? Yeah, again, no. No, it doesn't work that way. although it may seem to, but no, that's not how it works. How it works is those who really deserve your help, or those who really do need your help, should be helped. They should be stood by. Because now imagine how right now Pakistan is alone. There's nobody to stand by us. There's nobody to actually come. Look at Palestine. Palestine is alone. They have literally just 2 to 3 countries that are helping them, and those 2 to 3 countries are being bombed by America and by Israel. And how could this have been stopped? If the whole damn world had gone there to stop Israel. But what is the whole world doing? They're acting shamelessly and cowardly. The whole world they're all sitting on the back of the fence and saying, don't do it, it's wrong, don't do it, it's wrong. But nobody is going and stopping the aggressor. When is exactly the same logic with which I keep on saying that when a few thousands of people in Pakistan, when they keep coming out in the streets, it is not enough. You need all your millions of people to come out. You need all your millions of people to come out and to stand together. When you keep having pockets of thousands, coming up, cropping up, and then thousands here, thousands there, thousands here, then the progress will be slow. United means together. It means everyone from all corners of the country must come out. And one would argue, but they do come out. Yes, they do come out, but again, in pockets. They're coming out in freaking pockets. Like, for example, right now, Balochistan is out. Where is Punjab? Punjab is drowning. Where is Sindh? Where is Karachi? I don't see them coming out. Not like this. KPK, are you coming out properly? No. And yet one would expect the whole of KPK to come out. But no. So you have people in Kashmir, yeah, they're coming out. People in Gilgit-Baltistan, they're coming out. Pockets, you're having pockets of people coming out. You're not having everybody coming out at the same time like they should. And again, why? That 80% of our population that are in the villages that never come out. They're the problem. So yes, to me, it is selfishness and it is shamelessness, because again, you're the people we're fighting for. And you're just sitting down and watching the whole drama as if it's a spectacle. So it's the same logic. When customers start speaking up or speaking out against companies start censoring them. And then when they see that there are certain customers who cannot be censored, then they act as if, oh my God, what is wrong? Oh my God. Again, fix your shit. Do you think people actually have time to come and complain to you? Do you know why when people come and complain to you, they're always so pissed off? It's because they don't want to come and complain to you. It's a hassle. People don't like hassle. People don't like undue stress. People don't like unnecessary tensions. We are all looking for peace in our lives, and anybody who ruptures that peace is going to bear the brunt of it, because we don't want our peace to be ruptured. And then when you make it a habit of rupturing our peace over and over and over again, and you think that, oh, you know what, they should just take it as it comes and they shouldn't say anything, then I'm sorry, but you've got it coming then. If you're subjecting your clients to a repeated form of stress and tension due to your lack of professionalism or your lack of quality of services that you're failing to provide in the first place, then you are forcing that person to get disturbed again and again. And when that person gets disturbed, he's forced to speak out again and again. It is actually more irritating for the person speaking out than for you. Because remember, even though we're speaking out, we when we were growing up, we were conditioned to never speak up and speak out. And so whenever we have to speak up and speak out, it is so annoying to us, it is so frustrating for us that we get so pissed off that you have to bear the brunt of it then, especially again when I said it's a repeated offense from your side. So similarly, as long as the government and the army will continue to offend us repeatedly, we will keep coming out. We will keep protesting. We will keep talking against them. We will keep calling a spade a spade. And those who don't are selfish, they're self-centered, and they're shameless for that reason, and they're cowards because they're hypocrites. Because they prefer that somebody else should talk while they just sit and pretend to be the nice guy. Why are you the nice guy for shutting up? You're not the nice guy. When things will finally change and when tables will be turned, you will be the first person eating at that table. The food that we fought and cooked and placed on that table, you are going to be the first one eating. So that makes you a hypocrite. And you were a coward, never to step forward. So yeah, the reason why people who speak up and speak out make certain people uncomfortable is because people, and now I'm coming on a global level, people globally have been conditioned not to speak up, not to speak out. Their confidence has always been shot by the system, by the media, by institutions, by their parents, by teachers, by anybody and everybody, As we know, schools are notoriously, now the original idea of school, in Islam was to create awareness. Because remember, in Islam, education is compulsory. It's an obligation on every man and woman. Why? To create awareness. So that an educated mind would have questions. They would learn to do research themselves. They would learn to go through all the sources that Islam has provided on Islamic information. And they would have a habit of doing research and studying and observing and creating and discovering and inventing other things in this world. And that is why the medieval scholars, the medieval Islamic scholars, did the most work in science and technology and math and astronomy and astrology and every subject under the sun that today's world is literally enjoying the fruits of. So the original idea again of school was to create questioning minds, creative minds, minds that are open, minds that are observant, minds that are aware. But when the Western world took the education, the whole idea of education, and when they decided to implement it, because remember, essentially in Christianity, education is considered a sin. Actually, not in pure Christianity, but in their version of Christianity that the priests decided to create, to them, education was the forbidden fruit. And so to them, education is not something that should have been given to the people in the first place. But when the Muslim world, because the Muslim world was at that time the ruling developed world of their time, and they made great progress, and obviously it was because of education and awareness and science and technology of that time. And so because of that, the Western people grudgingly decided that, okay, if they wanted to make their lives better and to develop themselves, they would have to go through this. But then when they brought in education, in the beginning, obviously they tried to keep it the same way as it was, where you would raise questioning minds and aware minds and this and that. But they were not actually happy in the first place with the whole point. And to them, this was proof of the pudding, where education was a big no-no in Christian societies or Western societies. And this is how they began to institutionalize education or academics, to the point where it was all about conditioning people to not question authority. You understand? So they started now using education as a tool to snub, subdue, and limit and restrict the population so that they would not nurture inquisitive minds, but they would snub those inquisitive minds and condition them never to question authority. And then the Western people, as they started conquering these countries that were under the Islamic rule, they started implementing these colonial conditioning of minds into people again. They started spreading their form of education, which was again for their benefit because they did not want people to question their rule. But once again, it kind of backfired because at the end of the day, education demands questions. It demands inquisition. It demands curiosity. It demands investigation. It demands observation. So, but still, overall, generally, we have been conditioned, save for rogue few minds, we are essentially overall conditioned. We are conditioned to trust the narrative of the media or the authority. We have been conditioned not to question authority. We have been conditioned to rely on the system to our detriment. As a result, as you've seen in America, people are becoming homeless and jobless. In Pakistan, people are becoming jobless. In Europe, people are becoming homeless and jobless. You know, why? Again, because you're restricted. Your system has already restricted you, and there are a few rogue few who now start looking for alternative outs, means from where they can just leave that system and go somewhere else and start fresh all over again. But how many of us can actually do that? Very few of us manage to do that. Again, financial constraints being the first and foremost reason behind that. That is the first and foremost limitation. So yes, authorities do not want people to question them. But remember, every revolution begins with questions. And that is why actually they don't want you to question. Every revolution begins with a question, okay? Every revolt starts with a question. Unfortunately, as I said, history has also shown that every revolution, when it succeeds, you have only a few years of the positive fruits that you can reap, the rewards that you can reap off of that struggle. And then people get pushed back into complacency, and then it starts all over again. Because you need constant vigilance. People feel that once they have placed the power in the right hands, the power of attorney, basically, the power to represent them, that if they've placed it in the right hands, that they're doing it so that they should be able to get back to peaceful, complacent lives. And unfortunately, it doesn't work for so long. Because the people on whom you've placed your trust, they may continue to maintain that trust. But then again, the other people who will enter into the mix, they will again start with the corruption, and they will start with the manipulation. And then you will again go back. Because as I said, they know that people as a whole, communities, societies as a whole, cannot continue to remain vigilant 24/7. That is essentially the reason why we have politicians, why we have bureaucracy, why we created this whole system of people to represent us, so that we can sit back and afford to be complacent. But as I said, this backfires at one point again. So, yes, do not be afraid to question. Even if somebody tries to destroy your reputation on the fact that, oh, why do we have to face this person? Oh, why does he have to come again? Oh, why? You know what? Again, if you do not want people to complain about you, fix the complaint. Why don't you fix the complaint? That's what I don't get. If somebody tells me you're doing this thing wrong, and if many people are coming and telling me you're doing this thing wrong, then obviously I'm not going to tell those people, oh, I'm going to keep doing this thing. I don't care what you think. No, I'm going to fix the shit, as any responsible, accountable person would do. So fix your shit. But you don't want to. Why? Because this is how you're going to earn money. And that is the whole point here. The reason why you will not improve on whatever it is that your clients are complaining about or your people are complaining about is because you are benefiting from it. You're earning something from it. Be you a politician, again, be you a lawyer, be you a judge, be you an army personnel, be you a police personnel, be you an institution owner, be you a company owner, be you a manufacturer, a retailer, a vendor, it doesn't matter. The only reason why you would refuse to do something about the constant complaints that you're getting is that is where your benefit lies. And this is me signing out. Khuda Hafiz.